set, take.
Hello, hello, my beautiful people, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Woman to Woman with Joanne, the talk show. I am so excited you guys are back with us on today. And today I am so excited to share with you guys our beautiful guest, Miss Cynthia Newland. Cynthia, welcome to Woman with Joanne, the talk show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so fabulous and just really excited to be here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. So great to see another smiling face. I know this is going to be an awesome and exciting interview. I'm so excited to just be able to talk with you about life and what's going on with you. So what I want to do first is just tell me a little bit about you. Tell me where you were born and raised, because you're not from this great state, even though you live in this great state.
That's exactly right. I was born in Radford, Virginia. So I was raised in Northern Virginia, and we transplanted here back in 2003.
2003.
Yes.
Awesome. So you said we, so of course it's your husband.
Yes,
Talk
have
to
a
me.
wonderful husband. He's a singer-songwriter, musician, pastor.
Awesome.
And then we have 3 adult married children. Each one of them are married, have incredible spouses, and now we have 3 grandchildren and a 4th one on the way. So we are a growing family.
That's wonderful. I see the pictures of those beautiful grandbabies that you post on Facebook.
Thank
And
you.
I'm like, oh, good. I love babies. I told my children maybe I should own a daycare or something because I love babies so much.
Or just coming to my house.
Okay. So tell me, what's the name? What's your church? You said your husband's a pastor.
Yes. Well, right now it's a church and the back porch because we have consolidated down to a smaller church.
Okay.
And we're in a transitional time because of all that's going on with the pandemic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody is trying to be safe with this thing because
Yes.
it has gotten so cray-cray.
It has. It has.
Yes, ma'am. Well, tell me, I know that we've talked before. Tell me about your dancing because I see that you are a dancer and I saw you dancing on Facebook one time and I was like, look at her.
Thank you. Well, my mom had the notion when I was 4 years old to put me in dance classes because I think
Okay.
I was one of those rowdy ones that couldn't control the energy.
Right.
So I am 57 and I've been
Oh, look at
dancing
you.
for all of those years. So for over
Awesome.
50 years. And I went the educational route. I have a bachelor's degree in dance, a master's degree in dance, and then continued in the environment of education. My husband being a musician and me with dance, we've had a lot of opportunities through the years to travel around the world and work at different conferences and festivals and different sorts of retreats and international gatherings. And there I would have the opportunity to not only teach dance, to present dance, have a couple of dance companies through the years that I've been able to manage. And we usually travel international to go and share dance in a lot of different settings. So dance has just been really my livelihood as a professor teaching and then also as a dancing artist myself. So it's just been a part of my life.
Well, awesome. That is wonderful. So tell me, are you still a professor now? Do you still teach?
I am. I still am.
Where are you teaching now?
At Belhaven University.
Belhaven University. All right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what I really want to get into is your business. And then also we want to talk about your Facebook page. It's called Tell me.
Spirited, strong, and well.
Holy, spirited, strong, and well.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about your business that you started first, and then I want to talk about your Facebook page and what all it entails and what you aim to, not what you aim to gain, but
Sure. Just accomplish and
accomplish.
Just
That's
teach
my
and
word.
share.
Y'all.
Yeah, sure. So Alible 3, it's ALIBLE number 3. It's an old English word meaning offering or affording nourishment.
Awesome.
And so I have a real passion to help educate nourishing the body, soul, and spirit.
Yes.
I feel like we have a lot of depravity in some areas of our nourishment and don't really understand the importance of being a person that is comprised of a body, an incredible body. And if you're a believer and choose to say it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives within me, then this is the temple of God and it's where the Spirit dwells. And so how can I continue to educate and teach and train and encourage and inspire other people to take care of this incredible vessel?
Yes.
And then also the soul, our mind, will, and emotions.
Yes.
And we're seeing more and more a lot of complications with people who are having mental health challenges.
Yes.
This pandemic time has just been really devastating for so many. And so just really encouraging and inspiring and giving practical tools for people to be educated on ways to take a bit more control over their mental abilities and capacity, and then with the body part as well. I mean, the spirit part as well. So just that education, I believe in the church, we've gained a lot of education coming from the pulpit about how do we take care of our spirit. A lot of education. However, we don't have as much training on the nourishment of our spirit. The nourishment of our soul, just the mind, will, and emotions, and then the body. Very little training. And so I formulated this company and do a lot of different things when we're not in this pandemic time, being able to go and offer workshops and teaching and training and in different settings, from schools to different women's gatherings, retirement centers, just different people in different walks of life. Obviously, during this time in the pandemic, there's a lot more education that's happening via Zoom. I think we're all becoming like Zoom pros.
Yes.
But being able to offer workshops still. And then I'm connected also with a community called Health Made Simple. And we're comprised of really amazing people, from the healthcare practitioners, doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, and then others who are in ordinary walks of life. We've got some high-end athletes, pro athletes, Olympic athletes working together with us. And then also people who are in the arts and entertainment industry. So we're just all teaming together, and Audible 3 is one component of that network of people.
Awesome. So when you started Alliable, was there, did you have any health issues that made you start this company, or was it just something that you've always been into and you've always been a health food person? Tell me about that.
That's a beautiful question. It was really about a transitional time where I was stepping away from a full-time position in my work, and knowing that I wanted to still stay connected with the institution, but wanted to have a lot more freedom in my schedule. And I just had this growing passion. I really felt like God was saying, you know, you met me back in 1981. You had been dancing already for a long time as a youth, and you were merging that dance love and this new understanding of who God was and fusing that together. So I had an opportunity to pioneer Christian dance globally, which has been an incredible blessing. And now God's saying, you need to pioneer again. I was like, what? I've already done that. It's like, well, no, we need some education in the church about really how do we take care of the whole instrument, and what are ways that you can just be an advocate for my balanced way of John 10:10, that Jesus came to give life and give it in abundance. What ways could I be a part of advocating for that? So that's how this Audible 3 came about, really looking at fusing these different areas of the pillars of health. There wasn't a complication for my own health. I've been blessed to have really incredible health. I grew up in the South, and we didn't necessarily eat how I eat now. And it's similar to how many people eat here in Mississippi. But it was just something that I grew in knowledge about, but then also in passion about. And then looking at the conditions of the world and looking at the conditions in our own state, and seeing that there continues to be an incline of illness, sickness, disease, people's lives that are cut short. And how can we prevent that? And so I know that plant-based nutrition is a part of taking some of those preventative measures to help us to gain back control of our health. And so there was just this convergence of this passion, this transition in my life, and just a real desire to be a help and to contribute into the lives of other people.
That's awesome. Awesome.
You know, I really didn't think that I was going to get this job, but I am so excited that I did. Let's celebrate, celebrate.
But what about the house?
I was so excited about getting the job. I didn't think about moving and trying to sell a house.
So how are we going to do all this?
Oh, sorry. I heard y'all were trying to sell your home. Well, look, I know a great real estate company that not only puts a sign in your yard, but they'll also market your home.
Ma'am, We're here trying to celebrate my wife's new job.
Congratulations, girl. Well, look, like I was saying, this company even allows you to choose your own marketing. They can also help you purchase a new home.
Really?
Community First Real Estate. Oops, let me go. I see some people coming in and they love to talk and invade your privacy. Bye-bye.
Call now, Community First Real Estate, 601-956-6567.
Pink Leopard is an online ladies fashion accessories boutique and a lifestyle brand. At Pink Leopard, you will find ladies' earrings, a door opener, bracelets, brooches, and many other fashion accessories. Visit us at www.mypinkleopard.com and join our mailing list so you can stay in touch with us. That's www.mypinkleopard.com.
All right, class, welcome to the School of Patty Peck Honda. You want to know why Patty Peck's Used Car Supercenter is the best? Let's take it S by S. Smart. Shop Patty Peck, save big, and get a fully insured lifetime powertrain warranty with your premium pre-owned purchase. Shiny, because you get complimentary car washes for life. Safe, because Patty Peck is sanitizing around the clock and following all CDC guidelines to keep you safe. Sporty. Some say buying a sports car at Patty Peck might knock 10 years off your face. Look good, feel great, and shop PattyPeckHonda.com today. Class dismissed.
So now let's talk about being here in Mississippi, and you came here in 2003, and of course you said you love it, but tell me your experiences living here in Mississippi, especially when you first moved here. What was your experience when you first moved here?
I'll be honest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when we first came here, it just was quite a different way than we lived East Bay, San Francisco. And so it was a different way of life, fast-paced way of life, a lot more diversity and cultural identities. And then coming here, there just was a pretty clear delineation in people and people groups. We came from a church environment there and had access, like going to Shiloh Church in Oakland, you name it, and the ethnic race was present there, worshiping every tribe and every tongue. Came here and there was a real delineation and segregation in churches, and so that was something that was different than what we had been accustomed to living in California for so long. And I know that I probably didn't go about it the right way necessarily when we first came here. I remember being in the grocery store line a couple of different times and having a beautiful African American woman checking and a big white Caucasian guy in the line right in front of me and getting pretty irritated and not so kind in his language. And so, I'm like, yeah. First of all, this is not okay. And here's a woman and I'm going to stand up for her. But just saying, excuse me, sir, did I really hear you just articulate that? And just, numerous times of just those kinds of encounters that just set me back to realize, okay, I'm in a different place and a different culture. And how am I going to advocate in the way that I can that's going to make a difference with kingdom morals and kingdom values? So that was one part of the adjustment that was different. But also just the real excitement of when we first came here, we went to a small church in inner city West Jackson, and it was predominantly a Black church, and it was such a rich time for us as a family to really start learning more about the culture, about the people. We would break bread together and just hear stories about lives and understood things from a different perspective of people living here for such a long time. And so that I just, I'm a teacher educator, but I'm a student. And I always want to learn. And so just those opportunities to hear from real people and not get it out of a textbook, but hear it directly from the lives of people's stories. And just being so thankful for some of those encounters. Obviously, the food culture is different, so we've been talking a little bit about that. The terrain is different. We've had opportunity to go down to the coast and experience, that life there, and then going up to the Delta, which is so incredibly and such a rich part of Mississippi heritage and the culture. So we've been able to take advantage of seeing some of the state and experiencing the food and experiencing the people and stories and the art. I mean, being an artist, what an wonderful, rich heritage, music, and rich. So it's been really wonderful. And we were talking earlier about, my family, 3 adult married kids. They've all met their spouses while living in Mississippi. So one of them's a true blue Mississippian. Another is actually from Virginia, really close to where I grew up. And the other one is actually Mexican. He grew up in Mexico. His parents were missionaries in Mexico, and they met at the university, at Belhaven University. So there's just been a lot of good that's come from being here in this state.
Right, because there is a lot of good, there's a lot of greatness here in Mississippi, and I love to hear the great, encouraging stories, even though there are terrible stories, but there are great stories that come from Mississippi. There are great people who come from Mississippi. Oprah comes from Mississippi. Morgan Freeman comes from Mississippi. So there are so many talented people who come from Mississippi. And so I'm so excited to be able to just share Mississippi in this beautiful light that we shine in this world. Tell me a little bit more about how if somebody wanted to change their eating habits but didn't want to do it so drastically, where they wouldn't fall off and stop like me. Because I'm like all in at first, and it's like, I don't like this. And then I'll go right. So tell us how we could gradually change the way we eat so that we can protect our temple? Because what I've been hearing and reading, I even try and do yoga sometimes. I'm not doing it as much as I should, but I saw one yoga deal where it helps with your immune system. And our immune system is where everything happens, and where we are really protecting our whole body with our immune system. So kind of talk to us about what you know about protecting our immune system, and then how we can ease into changing our eating habits, and how it's okay to eat in portions, but just don't overeat.
Right. Yeah, those are great things. And do we have like 3 or 4 hours? Because
I know.
there's a lot to share. All right, so the one simple change really is just what are those things that you can implement? And so maybe it's substituting water for that 3rd cup of coffee. Do you know what I mean? So being practical that, okay, I'm not going to have as much coffee. I'm going to substitute out and drink more water, or drink more water instead of that second sweet tea or that soda.
Coke.
And so that's a simple change where you're being really mindful to hydrate more. Another change would be, instead of punching that elevator button,
take the
using
stairs.
the stairs. That can be something really practical, and you can start counting your steps. Instead of, taking time where you're usually maybe just sitting on the couch or scrolling on Facebook, go outside and go for a 10-minute walk. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be a shorter amount of time, and you can incrementally start working up to a longer amount of time. Building up that endurance. When you're thinking about rest, having some real practical practices where, instead of being on your television screen, your computer, your phone, maybe an hour beforehand, getting away from the blue light, getting away from those devices, and just making some real practical, intentional times to read. Just lay in bed for a little bit and go through your gratefulness list. You're practicing gratitude. That can help you put you in a good mood to go to sleep and ready to wake up the next morning. So there's a lot of things like that doesn't have to be that you're just implementing all of those things all at once. we operate a program called Shred 10. And this Shred 10 is getting rid of some of the habits that might not serve us so well and starting to implement ones that will. So something like, getting away from caffeine for a designated period of time. Maybe it's just, 2 weeks. Alcohol for a short amount of time. Gluten, dairy, processed food. Just looking at some of these things that you aren't necessarily going to be served well by consuming, and implementing some other things like drinking more water, eating more whole foods, taking that time to exercise, doing things like resting and sleeping, and then plant-based nutrition. I really have looked at the research and I'm so convinced. And so we have something, a part of my Allable 3 business is partnering with the Juice Plus company. And so it's a way to get all of these 30 different nutrients of plant-based foods in your diet through encapsulated fruits or vegetables, or through a drink mix where you're getting plants, but you can have a quick shake and go. And people are busy, so get a good nutrition in your diet through something like that. And so that's something that I advocate for. So a substitution might be a simple change is instead of using butter, that you could use a plant-based butter on your spread for your toast or in your recipe. Instead of your dairy, you could get creative and learn how to make some really wonderful creamy, like a cashew base with a nut milk and a different type of nutritional yeast with a little salt and garlic and onion powder. Mix that together and blend it, and it's a beautiful alternative. And so it doesn't have the same kind of calories. It's not cholesterol forming like our dairies and our meats are, and you feel good when you eat it. So it's just looking at, maybe even something like a meatless Monday. Go 1 day a week where you cut out all the meat and you're really eating just all plants. Cut up your vegetables in advance. And then that way you can have the opportunity to not come home and think, okay, what am I going to eat? Oh, I roasted those vegetables already, and I've got some grains already cooked, and I can put those together, the fun mix of a bowl, and eat a meal like that. And then another one real quick is like a salad to go, where you can make a salad in a jar, and you can prepare a few of those in advance, and then you've got it, and you can just shake it and go, or take it to lunch.
Salad in a jar.
So it's really it's planning, it's forethinking, and not getting to that place of being famished and hungry and thinking, okay, what do I have at home? I'm going to the drive-thru. And so
guilty.
Being practical about taking care of it, taking care of this incredible temple.
So tell the people who, because of course I hear and I've seen a lot of, I want to eat healthy, but it's more expensive. It costs too much. So you got to eat what you can get to. What would you say to those people who feel that way, me being one of them?
Well, again, I think it's that bulk cooking mentality that helps us to really get out of that expense. So when you are cutting up those wonderful veggies, and we've got so many incredible farmers markets where you can get direct fresh from fruits. The produce from the local farmers that aren't very expensive, and it's just how are you preparing those and being proactive. And obviously now we're getting into close to a fall time where we've got this fall harvest. Like eating in season, those things aren't usually as expensive. Where our costs can go up is when you're purchasing something that might be, more exotic, that's coming from a different region, and they've shipped it, and the cost goes up. But you can eat not expensively, cooking beans. And we like beans. We love beans. And there's a variety of kinds of beans that you can make. And beans aren't expensive. But if you make a big pot of beans and you have rice, and I've talked about quinoa, these other grains, you can make clean cornbread. That can be something that doesn't have the added fat in it, or
So what is clean cornbread? Because my cornbread has got to be some country cornbread.
I know. I understand. See, now I'm starting to tap on the things like, I've crossed the line.
Girl, tell me about this clean cornbread. I got to think about that.
I've crossed the line. I know. So sometimes I know we cook with the meat grease. And so you can still have a wonderful flavor, but cook with a plant-based butter or using an olive oil instead of the grease that is not necessarily as good for us. So you can get the fat in your cornbread like that. And then, like I said before, with a spread where you can, use a nut butter with it, or you could use a plant-based spread with it. You can also make some really wonderful kinds of spreads where you use a nut base and then make it really creamy, or like a garbanzo bean, a hummus. There's a lot of options out there that it doesn't have to be that thick butter that we like to put on it. But I know, she's thinking, okay, and it's probably lunchtime too. But there are ways to do it, and you can do it with just cornmeal as opposed to putting in, sometimes people I know like the sugar. Well, instead of the sugar, use maple syrup. So that is a sweetener. It gives that sweet, satisfying flavor without the refined, processed white sugar.
I'm really trying to get away from that sugar
not going to serve us well. So that could be an idea. I can give you some recipes.
Awesome. And a couple more things that I want to kind of go over before we finish our time. Tell me again. Let's talk about our immune system.
Sure. I apologize.
Yeah, because I do want us to realize how important it is, especially during this pandemic, to take care of our immune system. Then again, I do want to talk about how what we eat affects our mental health.
Yes, it does. Okay. So I love that you keep touching here. Because that's really, this is where your microbiome. So that's the scientific, what's happening. We've got all kinds of amazing bacteria in our body. There's some that's not so good. We need a little bit of that, but we need mostly good. And actually we have 4 to 6 pounds of bacteria in our body. So it's a greater percentage than what people think. And you're going, the greater percentage, about 90%, is housed in our gut. And we want to feed the good guys. We want to feed the good guys with the good stuff, because when we feed the bad guys with the bad stuff, then that's where our immune system has compromised. We have either a hyper or a hypo immune system, where our immune system is revved way too up and it's not functioning well, or it's depressed and not functioning well. So we want to have a balanced immune system. We've heard things like about probiotics that people think, okay, I'm going to eat that kimchi or that sauerkraut, or eat some of those fermented foods or the kombucha, those drinks that are going to enhance my microbiome, the gut lining. And we can do a better job, I believe, through prebiotics. So that's beforehand. We're going to set a really beautiful habitat for all of those microbes in our microbiome to be in a housed environment that's great. Through prebiotics. Prebiotics come through plant foods. So the phytonutrients in plant foods, we're getting a little science lesson here today.
Yes, we are.
The phytonutrients in our plant foods are what's going to feed the good bacteria. And we want to make sure that we have an array of the color. So we use the language, eat the color of the rainbow. And how you do that is try to make sure you're getting a sampling of all the colors, because when you're eating the colors, and I mean by that is food, not Skittles, because you're thinking, okay, I'm eating the colors of the rainbow, or M&Ms.
I had green and red and yellow.
That's not what I'm talking about. So it's real food, the red foods, what they do for our blood health. The green foods, those gorgeous greens that we have, and different types of, even green apples, cucumbers, broccoli. Those are going to help detoxify. They're loaded with really great nutrients, calcium to build strong bones. So all the colors, God's designed them to have a different job in our body. So if we just start eating, a yellow banana and maybe some purple grapes and a little bit of iceberg lettuce, and that's a full spectrum, then we're robbing our body from the job that all those other colors want to do. So eating that whole color of the rainbows in your diet every single day, what it does is starts to trigger the good guys to activate. And so in our microbiome, that's where the serotonin is developed. That's the regulator, and serotonin is our mood regulator. So there's something called your brain,
Yes.
but there's also something called our gut brain.
Yes.
And so there's this connection when we're eating well, then the serotonin is signaling to the brain. So we often think, okay, I'm a little mad, I'm frustrated, whatever mood is going on, it's often triggered here and not here.
Right.
And we just don't have that education to understand
Right.
that this second brain really is helping to signal so much, and it's a mood regulator. And so when we're dealing with things with depression, with different types of things like ADD, ADHD, different kinds of conditions,
Anxiety
with so
and
those
all
things,
that.
we can really help to reduce anxiety and depression, and even things like autism.
Wow.
Things that we're seeing now with these autoimmune concerns. If we go into that microbiome, we're feeding through this portal
Right.
the best things as possible, the most pure things without additives, food coloring, you know, the different types of genetic modifications, the different food additives. There's now over 9,000 food preservatives and additives that are acceptable in America to be added into what we call food, which is more like food-like substance.
Food-like substance.
So we want to eat the cleanest as possible and stay away from the ingredients. Read on the label. If you can't pronounce it, then your body doesn't know what to do with it. So we want to just make sure that we're able to understand the source of where it came from, because, I mean, I really believe God created us from the earth.
Yes.
And the first mention of any kind of nourishment for us and the animals, Genesis 1:28-29, that he gives us every plant-bearing seed.
Yes.
And that's for our nutrition.
Exactly.
And so we're made from the earth, drawn from the earth, we eat from the earth.
That's right.
And that's what's best going to take care of us.
Right.
And so it's this advocacy for let's eat as close to the earth as possible.
Right.
And that will be honoring this body and this temple, and then it will function the best.
It will function better, much better.
Absolutely. So it reduces inflammation when we do that. It helps to boost our immune system. It helps our skin, our hair, our nails, and all of those amazing things. And so that, you know, simple change you were talking about, that's why I back myself behind with Juice Plus, just because that is a way to get all of this nutrition of every color of the rainbow, 30 different fruits and vegetables in a concentrated form into your body. And in that way, you're starting to help to stimulate what's called metabolic syndrome, where you're able to start craving good things.
Yes.
You put the good things in, you're going to want more
of it.
good things. And we know the opposite's true, right?
Oh, yeah.
You start munching on those chips, you want another bag, right? We start drinking a soda, ooh, I want a little bit more. I start eating that pastry, we want more. It's just how we're designed. And so if we can start moving more towards let's get the good nutrition in, then we'll function better.
Right.
And then lastly, I'll just say this about exercise and activity. Get those endorphins just swimming all through the body. If you are moving your body, then it's a mood regulator also. It helps to encourage, pick up our spirit, helps us to think more clearly, it helps us to feel better, it helps us to look better. So many things that comes with our self-esteem with both how we eat and how we're moving. It's all interwoven, and you cannot separate out the spirit from the soul, from the body. It's just woven together. And so all of it needs balance. All of it needs attention, attentiveness to make sure we're operating optimally. And I believe the way God's made us and designed us.
Awesome. Moving to change your mood. I
There
just
we
heard
go.
that, right? Don't y'all steal that. Moving to change your mood.
That's right.
Cynthia, thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us today. This has been absolutely wonderful.
It's been my honor.
Awesome.
I love you, and it's just been
I
a
love
joy,
you
my
too.
friend.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
and we're going to get lunch too.
Yeah.